Hey Brickmaniacs, welcome back to another Friday Sit Rep. We got some awesome stuff to take a closer look at as usual, but a couple of quick updates from me. First things first, we are extending the drop day promo to include the entire first weekend. We know it's popular, and we got some feedback of people who are like, hey man, I work all day on Friday. It's kind of tough for me to be able to use that. So we will now run those through the entire first weekend of that kit's drop. There's updated information on the website if you want to check that out. Speaking of the website, we also have a new round of sale items that have just hit that category. So if you haven't in a while, make sure to swing through there and check out some of the new additions there. Remember, once a kit has arrived in that category, that is the last batch. Once it sells out, the next time it would be available would be in the vault. So if you haven't checked back in a minute, make sure to do so. Otherwise, we still have the buy three, get a fourth free on all perfect caliber brick arms running all the way through Thursday. And then, like I said, we got a brand new Huey to take a little closer look at. So let's head on into the design room and check this thing out. All right, yes, the rumors are true. We do indeed have a new Navy Huey available, more specifically the Sea Wolves on pre-order. So here's a little look at our completed render. And now we're jumping into the design room to take a little closer look at the prototype with Dan. There's some cool new stuff featured on this Huey here, not just from the 3D printed capacity, but also it's got kind of like some options to add crewmen. No stickers whatsoever. All the planned stuff is printed. So some cool stuff to go over. Dan, why don't you take it from here?
Well, this is Helicopter Attack Light Squadron 3, the Sea Wolves. It's one of the most decorated, I think it was the most decorated unit in Vietnam, actually. They were basically like the cavalry that came to the rescue anytime the Brownwater Navy or anybody called up for help. These guys would arrive in their gunships, either rescuing people, picking up some SEALs, operators, or just like doing air cover for Navy operations. Patrolling, being it sweeps for VC or weapons cache or something. These guys would be overhead cover.
So kind of like the Navy's multi-tool.
Yeah. So
cool.
They were stationed, on ships. They were stationed on land. They were basically, stationed mostly in the Mekong Delta. So these guys were, a lot of the riverine operations would be joined by these guys. They wouldn't necessarily be, they'd be doing top cover, I guess, whenever you'd be doing a sweep. You'd have patrol boats go in, or the river monitors, all that activity. So this is one of the gunships. This is when they formed this unit. The Navy didn't have really any kind of attack helicopter or anything, so they borrowed or were given hand-me-downs from the Army. So this is actually a UH-1C that the Navy, the HAL-3 took and modified to their own needs. So it does have the folding fin rockets. This one has a 7 rocket pod, which in this case we actually 3D printed.
It looks really, really cool.
It almost looks too much like a model to be considered a Lego part, but yeah, so what? We're pushing the envelope.
It adds that detail, man. It's like a muzzle brake on the end there, getting those loadouts that are so iconic.
One on each side. The real cool thing about this, and you kind of see it in here.
I can zoom in, so you're good.
Yeah, so you have this shroud. This is XM93, so an experimental minigun shroud. So they have this M134 minigun, which would usually it's mounted up like on some a fixed pintle or fixed mount, but in this case they have it on a swivel mount. So your crew chief or your door gunner, you'll have one of each. You'll have a crew chief and a door gunner. They'll basically be in the back seat there, one on each side. I'll just show you that it does have one on each side. But this really this one doesn't have the belt attached to it, but you really get this posable. It still has a range of motion on here. You can swivel it. You can do everything you want on it. It gives you this sort of like minigun posable feature that you don't normally have on one of our helicopters. Definitely better than just sticking it on with our old way of just sticking it on a pin.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
So that's another 3D printed part that our 3D print team dreamt up, looking at base pictures of period aircraft. Yeah, there is no like canned XM93 mount that came in a box. I think a lot of them were just field modified, field created. So we took a picture of one on an actual HAL-3 helicopter called the Judge.
That's a sweet name.
Yeah, so we're like, okay, we'll just copy the Judge. Sometimes you'd see them two per gunship, like in this case. Sometimes they'd be one on one side and an M60 or M2HB on the other side.
Okay.
We just chose to do two of the same because this is the only way you can get this right now.
Well, it looks cool symmetrical like that for sure.
Right. And we want to make sure that, if you wanted two, you're going to be able to get two in your helicopter because we're not going to be able to sell this thing separate. It's just, there's too much demand on our 3D printer just to have all every
for the
accessory.
Headgear alone, yeah, right. We start going into other stuff, it'll get real crazy. Well, that's a really neat added play feature. that kind of custom created for this, and something new brought to the Huey after, I mean, how many have you built?
This is yeah, a lot. This is very similar to the UH-1E that we made last year. Similar in a lot of ways. I strengthened it. I did a little bit of research because it's a B model. It does have some slight differences.
Sure.
You have your pitot tubes in the front here.
Yeah.
We're going to do some experimental printing too. We're going to try to print on this. We're going to try to print the actual Huey windows on the window pieces here. So, you will see in the final product that'll be printed. This dust cover over the intakes for the turbine that will be printed. We're gonna see if we can roll that so it's printed all the way around. It'll be pretty cool. And then we'll have the navy printed on the tail. I actually have the rotor printed. I borrowed this rotor from a different kit, probably like a Sea King or something, but it'll be printed. It won't be exactly that print. It'll be slightly different. And there'll be some other printed parts throughout this, sprinkled throughout the whole thing. Of course, the Sea Wolves logo right in the front. I did make this model stand compatible, so it works with our most current aircraft stand. So you can pose it in attack position. I think that's way more dramatic. Plus, if you have older ones, you can have your land vehicles on the ground, or
have it up above,
on the ground, and you'll be able to double the number of aircraft you can have in your shelf space. So.
That is absolutely awesome. I love that tilt. I mean, that literally is just everything than having it just sitting up there straight.
The nice thing about this particular stand is that you can pose it in almost any way possible. You can replace this with smaller ones and get even more extreme angle if you want.
We're really scraping the ground.
And of course, the nameplate will be printed. The helicopter the stand is an option. I figured, well, if I'm going to go through all the trouble of rebuilding it to be stand compatible, I might as well just throw the stand in it, since we don't yet offer the stand separately.
Very, very cool. I'd say that, you'd think that maybe you get to a point where there's too many Hueys, but we just continue to bring something new to the table every time we release these kits. And this one is absolutely no exception with some of the cool additions we've got going on here. And then I think it's just cool to see the Navy represented as well.
Right. There's a lot of different units that participated in the Vietnam War. So we're going to start being more unit specific. I should also just let people know that these aren't going to be around for like the whole year. You're going to see a lot of the new models that are, especially if they're unit specific, they might be one and done, or else we'll have one pre-order, and if you get on that pre-order, you get it. They'll have a couple go to the stores, but otherwise they're just we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to be moving pretty quickly on different, not just helicopters, aircraft, all the things that are unit specific. So you don't get on it, you're not going to you're going to miss out.
From now on, there are no guaranteed restocks beyond the initial batches that you are seeing. We'll see what happens once they release, but yeah, like Dan said, if this is something that you really want, don't think you're going to be able to wait around for all of 2023 to pick up additional pre-orders. So make sure you get in on it.
With production as it is, we're basically have a short list of things we're going to keep in production. Everything else is just going to be one and done, because we have a huge wants list of things that we want to cover, and we can't cover it all if we're trying to keep everything in stock. It's just no way possible.
Well, this is definitely one to add to the collection. Whether you're a helicopter collector or like to collect from the Vietnam era, I strongly recommend picking up this kit. And as always, make sure to use that drop day promo and check out the renders on the website for the official finished looking product. Otherwise, Dan, thanks for talking Hueys. All right, we're continuing in the design room with a little bit of a special segment here. This isn't necessarily related to anything happening immediately, but Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we've got sitting in front of us here?
Okay, well, this was a surprise package we received from the Ghost. It wasn't the Ghost. We received from Juice. So we've referred
one of many ghosts.
Yes, one of the ghosts of Kyiv. So these are AGM-88 missile arming pins. And if you don't know what AGM-88, it's a HARM. It's an anti-radiation missile. It's an American missile, and unbeknownst to me, they've been used by the Ukrainians. They've been fitted to MiG-29s. There's a MiG-29 squadron outfitted to carry these HARM missiles, and they are anti-radiation missiles. So they're hunting anti-aircraft batteries. Every one of these is a used arming pin from an AGM-88 HARM that ostensibly was launched at a Russian, probably a Panzer or other mobile anti-aircraft gun.
So real Ukraine war artifacts chilling right here in the Brickmania design room.
These have come full circle, made in America and back in America.
Yeah, no kidding.
But these are all used. They're all from the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Each one of them has a city name associated with them. So it says, in vengeance of each city that was attacked, Ukrainian city that was attacked. So these were sent to us by the Ghosts. and it's something that we are, going to use as some sort of fundraiser to help them, of course. Some other things that we got back, we got some of these autographed ghost figures. So we're going to put together some sort of package, either auction or raffle or other, whatever we can do.
Likely retail related too. So if you're near one of our stores, you'll probably have a chance to do something in store.
Especially during the holidays, people have time off. They'll get to the store, and we'll have some sort of like way to enter when you go to the store. And we'll have different prize packages. You're not going to get all of these. We'll put one in.
It won't be one thing, right?
Yeah. So and we're kind of weighing our options. We'll be working with of course the guys on the ground and in the air in Ukraine to do what we think is best and what we can do to help them the most. So we've already sent them tens, if not more, thousands of dollars worth of gear and financial support through the Wingmen for Ukraine, and that's just not going to stop. The need is still there. The need is still great. The Russian forces are still attacking every day in Ukraine. So,
well, and like Dan said, we're not exactly sure how this is going to shake out, but we do plan to not just collect these here at the design room. We are going to try to weaponize them to help raise more funds.
These are not for us. They're not going to do us any
So we're excited to be in collaboration with Juice and the other pilots over there, as well as anybody else who's been reaching out, Wolverines as well, which is really, really cool. So this is kind of the start of some possible things here. We just wanted to showcase them off to let you know to stay tuned, basically, and get your hands on some stuff that just isn't going to be anywhere else.
The actual downed Ukrainian, or downed in Ukraine, Russian Su-34 fighter bomber. This was sent as well in the package. It's pretty cool. The sticker is just kind of a humorous anecdote.
That's kind of crazy, yeah.
But this is a piece of an actual aircraft downed by Ukrainian anti-aircraft forces or the Air Force. I'm not sure which, or maybe just fell out of the sky on its own. Who knows? But either case,
it's now here.
Yeah, it's here, and will be part of one of these prize packages.
Wow, just a really, really cool thing. Like we said, stay tuned to see where it goes, and Dan, we're excited to hear more about it. All right, that'll just about do it here on a Friday. I will say there will be no Monday sit rep yet again here. I'm sorry, there's just a lot going on, and I've been a little under the weather, to be totally honest, so it's been tough to find time to get that done. We do have the Opal Blitz returning on restock pre-order along with kind of a minifig Monday, but otherwise it's a fairly small drop. So we will work to bring those back as soon as possible. Like I said, I've just been a little sick and busy, so that's pretty much been the situation right there with all of that. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and as always, thank you very much for watching.